In the small town of Milbrook lived a middle-aged man named Jack Thompson. Jack had a cat named Oliver. Oliver was 5 years old and his fur was striped and very fluffy. Jack couldn't imagine his life without Oliver. The cat was not just a pet to him but a real friend who always greeted him at the door after a long workday. Every morning Oliver quietly purred while Jack made breakfast, and it became part of their daily routine. The pet loved to sleep on the windowsill and watch the birds in the yard. Jack worked as an accountant at a local company. His life was peaceful and steady. Every morning he would wake up, feed Oliver, have breakfast, and go to work. In the evening he would return home, watch TV, and go to bed with Oliver always lying by his feet. This was how his days went by week after week. One morning Jack woke up to a strange sound. Oliver was scratching the front door and meowing loudly. This was unusual because Oliver rarely asked to go outside. Jack opened the door and the pet immediately ran out. Jack didn't think much of it and went to work all day. He thought about Oliver, hoping that the cat would return home, as he had run away a few times before but always came back by evening. However, when Jack came home that night, Oliver wasn't there. The men started to worry. That night, without Oliver, Jack could hardly sleep, constantly checking the window, hoping to see his fluffy welcome to spa stories, where the line between the known and the unknown fades, and the shadows whisper truths untold. Tonight, we delve into the primal connection between humans and animals, a bond forged in trust, sometimes fear, and always in mystery. Friend on the windowsill. 3 long days went by. Jack didn't lose hope of finding his pet and put up missing cat posters all over town. He spent hours every day walking the streets calling out for Oliver, but the cat was nowhere to be found. Jack began to worry, thinking that stray dogs might have attacked Oliver or that he had been hit by a car. On the 4th day, when Jack came home from work, he unexpectedly saw Oliver sitting on the porch. The cat looked tired but healthy. Jack was overjoyed and immediately rushed to his pet. When the men got closer, he noticed something attached to Oliver's collar. It was a note. Jack was very surprised. He unfolded the note and read it. "Your cat has incredible abilities. He's amazing. Please call me Sarah Johnson." Jack was puzzled. He read the note several times. Although he loved his pet very much, he had never noticed any special abilities that would make him different from other cats. Intrigued by the mysterious message, Jack fed Oliver and immediately called the phone number listed on the note. The woman on the other end introduced herself as Sarah Johnson. She said she was a seismologist and told Jack an amazing story. 3 days ago, she was working in her laboratory when a gray striped cat ran in. The cat was very restless and kept meowing. At first, Sarah tried to chase the bold animal away, but the cat quickly returned. Then the woman looked closer and noticed that the cat was not only meowing loudly but also scratching the floor in a certain rhythm. The woman even started recording this rhythm. A few minutes later, her instruments detected a small earthquake. The rhythm of the cat scratching closely matched a seismic activity. Jack listened to all of this with disbelief. He couldn't believe that his Oliver could somehow predict an earthquake, but Sarah insisted on meeting in person. She wanted to run some tests with the cat, but she needed Jack's permission. The next day, Jack brought Oliver to Sarah's lab. There were other scientists there who were curiously observing the cat. They conducted a series of experiments for these tests. They placed Oliver in different rooms with seismographs and other equipment, to the surprise of everyone present. Every time the instruments detected even the slightest seismic activity, Oliver started showing signs of anxiety. He meowed, scratched the floor or walls, and sometimes even tried to hide. The scientists were thrilled. They had never encountered anything like it. Sarah explained to Jack that Oliver could be incredibly valuable to science. His ability to predict earthquakes could save many lives in the future. Jack didn't know what to think. On one hand, he was proud of his extraordinary cat. On the other hand, he was afraid that the scientists would take Oliver for further studies. He loved his pet and didn't want to part with him. Sarah assured Jack that they had no intention of keeping Oliver permanently. The scientists offered Jack a partnership. He could bring Oliver to the lab a few times a week for observations and tests. Jack agreed, but with the condition that he would be present during all the experiments. He wanted to make sure that Oliver was treated well. The scientists agreed to His terms thus a new chapter in Jack and Oliver's life began 3 times a week. They went to the lab. Oliver went through different tests and the scientists recorded the results. Jack watched the whole process. Gradually news of the earthquake predicting cat spread through the scientific community. Scientists from different countries started coming to Milbrook. Everyone wanted to see Oliver in action. Jack began to feel a lot of pressure. Journalists called him asking for interviews. Some people even offered to buy Oliver for large sums of money. But Jack refused. To him, Oliver was not a science experiment but a beloved pet. One evening when Jack and Oliver came home after another day at the lab, the cat started acting strangely. He ran around the apartment meowing loudly and scratching the walls. Jack immediately knew what that meant. He called Sarah and told her about Oliver's behavior. Sarah immediately contacted the city authorities. A state of emergency was declared. People were asked to leave buildings and go to open spaces. An hour after the cat began acting strange, a strong earthquake occurred. Thanks to the early warning, no one was seriously injured. Thus Oliver became the hero of the town. After this incident, Jack's life changed completely. He became a real celebrity. People recognized him on the streets and asked to take pictures with Oliver. Jack felt proud of his cat but also worried. The scientists wanted to conduct more and more experiments. They talked about studying Oliver's DNA and performing deeper research on his brain. Jack began to fear that his cat would be turned into a test subject. The man decided to limit the time Oliver spent in the lab. Now they only went once a week. Sarah wasn't happy, but Jack stood by his decision. He wanted Oliver to remain first and foremost his beloved pet. Life slowly began to return to normal. Jack was still working as an accountant, but now he had a new hobby. He started studying seismology to better understand his cat's abilities. Oliver continued to predict earthquakes. His abilities helped save many lives, not only in Milbrook but in other towns as well. Jack was very proud of his incredible pet. A year had passed since Oliver had first predicted an earthquake. Jack was sitting at home watching the news. They were talking about the latest achievements in earthquake prediction. Scientists had developed a new device that could predict tremor hours before they started. Jack smiled and looked at Oliver, who was sleeping in his favorite spot on the windowsill. The man knew very well that it was his cat who had inspired the scientists to create this device. Oliver opened his eyes and meowed as if understanding his owner's thoughts. Jack walked over to the cat and petted him. He thought about how one small fluffy creature had changed the world. Thanks to Oliver, people had learned to better understand nature and prepare for its dangers in advance. But for Jack, Oliver always remained just his beloved cat, a cat who loved to sleep in the sun, play with paper balls and purr when petted. A cat who greeted him at the door every evening when he came home from work. Jack knew that many more adventures awaited them in the future, but no matter what happened, he would always protect Oliver and take care of him, because sometimes real superheroes come into our lives in the form of ordinary pets. Remember, the next time you hear the rustle of leaves or feel unseen eyes watching, it could be more than just your imagination.